making this video um, because it's absolutely necessary. Okay, so it's I really don't know really what to believe when it comes to so much of the circumstances, because so much of the world that I live in, many people really don't know, let alone really don't even care about a lot of the deep details about what was going on. You know, meeting my one of my friends that passed away many years ago, identical twin in New York, um, all kinds of things, random things. Didn't find out until my mom was triplets until later in life. You know, I'm 35 years old. I find out my brother Julian, who's a bone marrow transplant donor to me when I had my transplant, was an identical twin. My dad was an identical twin. My other brother Marco was an identical twin. And that was very, very earth shaking to me, because I had basically felt like I had lived, so much of a just a story that nobody told me about. But this video is I'm wanting to talk about the passing of my ex-girlfriend, and Ginger Johnson, Ginger Virginia Johnson. She went by Ginger, but full name is Virginia Carol Johnson. And I actually purchased this book that I found online on this website, and it's a memorial of her that was put together and was available for people to purchase online. And any signatures, anything that anyone said, guest book signing was on here. And it's just, we dated when I was 25 years old, and she was about 32 to 33 years old. And the way that I met her was through a Craigslist ad, and I actually met her before, many years ago. But I was just for a moment with some friends. Anyway, I met her, we were together probably not very long because of all the harassment and threats that were going on. It was probably like a month and a half, at most. And at the time I was working for Advanced Graphics in Capel, and near the airport. And we were intimate. She was, born natural heterosexual female. She was 100% female, and I went to her house. She came over to my apartment. And the initial way that we met was we went to go get something to eat. And she said that she was going to bring a security guard. And he was a pretty big guy, heavy set. I mean, it looked like he was probably like close to 300 pounds, like 275 pounds at least. About my height, maybe an inch shorter, but kind of just pretty heavy set. Not muscle, it was like heavy set. But he was a security guard. And she said she was going to bring him along, and he had lived with her for, I don't know, a couple of months, and she trusted him and was really, she told me that he has a really good eye and a really good sense of people's character, whether they're trustworthy or not. And she wanted his opinion on me before I moved into her house, because I was looking for a room to rent, and that's how we met. So we went to go eat at an Italian restaurant over on it's like Carrollton. It's like far east side of Carrollton, near Dallas. And we went to this Italian restaurant. We sat down. I met up with her there, and me and her were eating. and we were talking. We were sitting like at this square table in the middle of the floor, and when we got there, um, everything seemed pretty normal up until we walked into the cash register. Um, we walk up to the front, and I noticed that there's many years I really didn't pay attention to who was transgenders and who was not. I didn't realize that there was a fluctuation of there's an overpopulation of transgenders, and I never really paid attention to any of it. I just saw them as pretty much people, but I didn't really identify. So sometimes I didn't know there were transgenders. It would take me maybe a little bit longer for me to. I would never just question. So like I do now, whether a person's a transgender, but. We were eating, and I knew this person was acting very aggressive toward Ginger. And I know women well enough to understand that this person should not be behaving this way. And this person was a transgender and was like real vile toward her. And we just walked in there. They don't know who the hell we are. Like, what the hell you're doing? And I kind of got a little froggy. I kind of got a little tense, like to sort of back off. Like, back off my life. Like, what are you doing? Like, and she's a woman. And I didn't say anything, but the person recognized my sort of eye contact and body language that I didn't like it. But I kept it as neutral as I possibly could. We sit down and eat. Because it was a couple of them at the cooking pizza restaurant, Italian restaurant. We sit down and we're talking. I'm facing her. To the left is the security guard kind of guy. And we're talking. I talked to him, and he's like, yeah, I lived with her for about 6 months, a year, or whatever. He said he lived with her. And, he had his own life. And, they went about their business, and he was a good roommate. But while I'm talking to her and we're eating for like 30 minutes... I can tell that she looks toward the direction like there's some hostility being targeted toward her, and she starts to question and kind of looks at me like, what the fuck is that? What the hell's going on? Like, what the like, and she's like, am I bringing trouble, or am I solely associated with whatever this person is doing? I don't even know who this person is. It's the first time I actually been in this restaurant. I've never been in this restaurant before. And then I kind of, sort of play off like everything's fine, and I don't mean play off, but like I just kind of reassure everything's fine. I kind of look at her like, what's going on? I'm trying to figure things out, and I turn around and look, and I can tell this person doesn't like Ginger, like for whatever reason. I don't know what. And this Mexican guy, this security guard, he's a Mexican guy. He's like a American Mexican guy. He's not like from Mexico. But you can tell he's Mexican. But formal education. I'm not sure if he knew Spanish. I think he knew a little bit of Spanish, not too much. So everything goes well. We go out and leave. She said she'll let me know whether she has me selected among the other roommates, and she'll ask the opinion. And so she gave her a good opinion of me, and it worked out. So she told me she wanted to visit me. She wanted to come and do another session with me over at Applebee's. So we went to Applebee's, just maybe about a mile down the road from the Italian restaurant, over by the George Bush and Walmart. And when we got there, when we got to this Applebee's, I show up, and she's there. Right? I don't know if she showed up there or I showed up before, but it was like maybe a couple minutes apart from each other. Or she was waiting in the car. We walk in, and we sit down and eat near the window at the very front, and we could see the street. And we were talking, and I noticed once again this waiter. This person was a transgender. Like, you could tell this person was a transgender. And the waiter was very disgusting and very rude, very nasty. And you got to understand, like, to this person, I don't know who they are. it's like a date. You know, like who are you to be saying anything? And this person seemed to want to tell this person Ginger like you're doing wrong, or you kind of tell them what to do. And I kind of get tense, like sort of like I have to kind of reassure that I have my own opinion and you should have your own opinion, not what this person is telling you to do. And I don't get anything to eat. I think I get a couple beers because I didn't drink before, and I got a couple drinks just to kind of loosen up a little bit. That I was just kind of a normal guy, and she could kind of know that I would be drinking. I don't think she drank anything. She might have. I mean, she may have got one beer. But we had a couple appetizers. I don't think we ate a full course meal. Could have. I don't think we did. And we talked for a while, and that was it. So, you know, we end up there for about 30, 40 minutes talking, and we leave. So she calls me, and, you know, she was like, yeah, you know, let's figure things out, what yada, yada, yada. I said, okay. And one thing led to another. We were together, okay? So I didn't ever move in, and she wanted me to move in, but at that time, I was going through a tremendous amount of pressure and harassment and stalking. By this time, I had already gotten, I think, like 7 or 8 tickets. I hadn't reached my 40 to 35 tickets yet. And I was being harassed and threatened of greatly details when I got to work and when I got to my restaurant about Ginger. And it made me very angry because these people should have not known anything about me. And I know somebody was stalking us. I don't know who was responsible for it. I don't know who was arranging it. But they were using it to manifest and cause hostility. And we get there. I'm living at this house with this one lady, and she begins to almost kind of reference her, saying she's a bad person. And I'm like, and I start to get upset and sort of offended because I have never spoken about a relationship with this person, and they're like observing what I'm fucking doing. Like, so when I go to work, I'm getting details about it. People are getting very personalized in my personal life and basically trying to control it, you know, and they're just not minding their own business about my personal life. If I'm sleeping with Ginger, we're having sex, it's really none of your business. And even if we're full-grown adults. Who are you to tell me otherwise? You know, we're both heterosexual, and I'm straight. I ain't not wanting to sleep with transgenders, okay? That's not something that I'm interested in or ever have been. So, the tensions build up. We go to see a movie, This Is It, Michael Jackson. It was right when that movie came out, This Is It, Michael Jackson. When we get there, this is what happens. When we get to the Michael Jackson movie, and this is like a month of us dating, we walk in there, and I kid you not, this is what happens when we're going to see the Michael Jackson This Is It. There's 2 lawyers, and this is what happens. There's 2 lawyers that show up inside the movie theater, and me and Ginger are like the only people inside the entire movie theater. It's like during the weekday or something. And I could tell when we get there, like the people up at the front where we're getting popcorn, they were not welcoming. They were like not approving this relationship. Like they just weren't that polite. And I could tell Ginger wasn't looking at these, you know, cashier, these transgenders well at all. Like, you know, it just didn't seem like a very good situation. So we're walking to the movie theater, and I get kind of tense and angry because at this point I'm tense because about what's going on at my job site, the tickets, and the details about what I need to do with relationships. So we walk into the movie theater, we're talking, we're together. Within 30 minutes, there's two lawyers that show up. One at the very end, because we're at the close to the front rows. One at the very right end, and then one at the very left end. And they came in there with a briefcase when we're in there. And so I think it's important to talk about this because the harassment was so lethal that they brought lawyers inside the movie theater and nobody knew that we were going there. And as a matter of fact, I actually drove Ginger's car, I think it was. Ginger could have gotten in my car, but I want to say I drove Ginger's car to this place, to the movie theater. And I remember her saying she felt she was, which has happened quite a bit, but I was driving, she said she felt extremely safe. And she was like, gosh, I don't ever feel so safe like this in a car where you drive and you're a good driver. So anyway, I don't really think of it. As soon as she says that, there's like a car that almost comes by and hits us or some shit. And I kind of put my arm out so she doesn't fling toward the dashboard. But we keep driving, get there safe, everything's fine. But I wanted to say this. Shortly after the relationship ended and it was over with, we didn't leave off bad footsteps. And one of the things that I noticed is that when I walked in there into her house, one of the last times that we were together, I noticed she was like nervous and scared. And we hadn't had any, there was no arguments, there was no miscommunication. There was someone that did something to her. I don't know what I know it was because of some harassment, observing, some crazy shit, okay? That is exactly what was happening. And I could tell that it felt like somebody was telling her to end this relationship with me. So, anyway, we end up, we didn't leave off a bad footstep, and I end up leaving. And I could just feel, I could just sense like wasn't a good situation. Not with me being hurt, like somebody was doing something. And I could tell that she was kind of fetching out, because we've had conversations about some of the topics that, some people robbing her for some money, for work that she did, and some other situations. And, she was kind of asking for my help, and I was kind of giving the best advice. So we ended up, I ended up leaving, call her a couple of days, and that was pretty much the end of the relationship. We didn't leave bad terms. I ended up getting some more tickets, some more the job at my site was so tense and so harassing and so like work, just keep training me. Like they were not training me at my job site like I'm doing the work that I was doing, but training me as a human being, what I need, how to function in this world, and what I get and what I don't get. And they were getting personally into my life. Like the minute that they knew I had sex with Ginger, I went to work, and some of the workers could tell by looking at me that I had just had sex. And and I want to say that they got personally, started making reactions directly at me because of that, which is none of their business. But anyway, I ended up leaving. I called her a couple times. There was nothing that answered. She ended up, we just stopped talking, but there was no like feud or anything. So that was the end of the relationship. And, life moved on. I thought she had just moved on. There wasn't any bad vibes or anything, because I knew she was a very, very loving person. She was a very, very loving person. When we were together, she told me, she had like ferrets and, gerbils, and she was like a big animal lover, like the animal kingdom kind of type of person. And that's what she liked doing. She was a big animal lover, rescuing animals and creatures. She was fascinated with like the animal kingdom tremendously. And but anyway, I thought it was important for me to make a video that I was about, what was I? I was about 30, 37 to 38 years old. Okay, and I'm I want to say that I think I'm in Lawrence, Kansas, and this is during COVID. And this is in 2021. She passed away in 2021. And I think it was in 2022, yeah, because it was like 5 or 6 months. And I periodically looked at her Facebook and noticed it said she had cancer, or her cancer had come back. But the way that she kind of expressed it, there's so many people that were hacking into my accounts and doing so many crazy shit. I didn't know somebody hacked into her account, or somebody was basically has me looking, at a fucking internet screen that it's all make-believe shit. It's connected to some major computer lab, and what I'm seeing is not fucking real. A lot of the shit. Now, I'm not talking about AI. They have my IP address, and they can control what I see and manipulate what they want me to sort of think. I can go to a huge discussion of what that is, but I believed that she had cancer, and I was like, oh God, and at that time, I didn't even know if this was a make-believe shit, because people were coming at me. Everything I do on my phone, people would be notified then to come at me about something. I mean, it was just so crazy. I mean, I can't even, just how violating it is, and to come into, to violate me as a human being like that, unrespectably. So I'm gonna say this is when I'm in Lawrence, Kansas. This is where I meet my sister, Michaela Lisa. I don't even know if Michaela's my sister, and that I've seen her several times, and I don't find out until I leave. And I noticed like somewhere when I was like a couple of years before 2021, she had cancer. She didn't go into details of it. I didn't hear much postings about it or anything like that. So she ended up, I guess, getting better. And a year goes by, 2 years go by, or like a year goes by, and I think there was some posts that I guess she made a recovery. And so I was like, oh God, thank God she's better now. And I think I tried messaging her, but I didn't want to, or I didn't, because you don't understand the level of threat was going on. Like at this point in my life, when I'm going to all these different places, I'm starting to get so paranoid. And I'm not paranoid as a person to be scared and nervous. I'm talking about, if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm going to beat the fuck out of your ass. And I don't care about going to prison and jail. I got another home right over there. That's exactly how the behavior was to many of the people that I come around. And that's why I had a murder attempt that was placed on me, and I didn't call the fucking police. This is why I got raped by a transgender years ago, and I didn't say anything and didn't go to the police, because about what these police officers and this organization of the LGBT community was doing to me. So, but you got to understand, I'm very caring, and I'm very worried. And so, for her as well. Then all of a sudden, I'm in Lawrence, Kansas, 2021. I see Michaela there. While I'm there in October 6th, and I don't even know, she dies. She passes away. October 6th, 2021. As you can see right here. She passes away. Okay? And I don't look on her Facebook again, because I looked at it before October. And I looked at it in October, and it was, I think it was like maybe in April, or it was something like April or March or something like that, or maybe even February, that I look at her Facebook, or I look on her LinkedIn account, and it said she passed away. And I'm freaking out. I don't know if this is real. This can't be real. So what I do, I pack my bags. I gotta get to Dallas. Look up her internet, look to see her memorial, her cremation, or whatever. It's like some of it doesn't even look legitimate. So what I do is I get my bags and I leave, and I go literally from Lawrence, Kansas. I come directly to Dallas. The first thing I do when I get to Dallas is I go to the funeral home, where the funeral service was actually made and completed at, and which was at the Episcopal Church of the Transfigurational. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but Transfiguration. There we go. So I go there. I asked them for a pamphlet, and I talked to the priest, and it's all run by transgenders. It's weird. I don't know what the situation is, but it's not like a normal church. That's why they call it Transfiguration. It's a trans church. So I don't really think of anything, and I'm thinking, is somebody lying to me? It's just fucking crazy. Who the hell's lying about this shit? I mean, it's so violating to me because we're having sex, and it feels like it's violating. It's violating, you know. So I go talk to the priest. They give me a pamphlet. They said they had but the way the priest is talking about it, this nun, or the way that the priest and nun are talking about it, they're very passive about it. They're not very respectful toward me. They're not very welcoming in at all, and they're sort of vulgar in the way that they talk about the circumstances. Like they don't even care. Like it's just someone else is dead. They don't seem like it's care. So I end up getting the paperwork, and I get emotional and cry outside, and like this person is dead. Like she's not alive. Why isn't? Because when I look at her funeral service, and I look at all this, not only did no one show up to her funeral, and very few people, if any, signed her guest book or anything, but it didn't look like anybody claimed her or cared. And I was very disturbed by that. So I end up leaving, and just like, I guess that's life. She just died, and I kind of wander a little bit lost in all the chaos. And keep in mind, the stalking, the entire gay community and transgender community is completely attacking me repeatedly. When I get on the bus, nonstop, nothing ever changes. Just because Ginger died and I'm going to her funeral church service where it was held at, and whoever did the preparation, doesn't mean anything to these people. It absolutely means nothing. Nothing changes. I still literally striving not to end up digging in trash cans for food or forced to eat in them because I'm fucking beaten the fuck out of, or there's another murder attempt that's going to be placed on me. Now you got to keep in mind, I had a murder attempt placed on me years ago. And I pulled up to me, punted in the face, punted in the throat. I had fractured ribs, knots, welts all over my head, punched in the back of the head, which is extremely, you can kill people that way, or cause severe brain damage. And the threats still continue. If you don't do what I tell you to do, I'll have you murdered. I'll somebody has to beat your fucking ass. The police officers at this point are completely as worthless as you could ever imagine. I cannot go to them. I cannot speak to them. I don't want to call them. And I get the threats by the society and groups of people that are ganging up together to then come at me for it. And there's nothing that I can do. So I go about my business, and now I'm 42 years old. And a few months ago, I went and I looked at Ginger, and I was like, I guess she really did die. And this was like, I look at her Facebook and her it didn't even, her Facebook didn't even say that she died. Her LinkedIn account says that she died. And so, I mean, obviously she must have passed away. So what I end up doing is I end up going to, I look at her when I think, again, a year after, and it doesn't look like, it looks like she really did pass away. I don't know what the heck's going on. Why? So I go to Auschwitz and all these things goes on. I come back, obviously it's 2026 now, so a couple months ago I go back to the funeral house to find out and ask him again, did this person, do you know by a girl by the name of Ginger Johnson that died? She was this age, yada yada, and says, yeah, we have her in our computer system, she's right here. And the priest said that he did the funeral service and said that he thought he buried her in the backyard in this little tomb, and we couldn't find her. We couldn't find her tombstone. So this is one of the reasons I think they're lying to me. Not only very disrespectful and uncourteous in every way, spiritually and mentally and vocally, but he seems very directive when he tells me that he knows where she's buried, and it's not even her. She's not even out there. And like, I'm like, where are you telling me? Because they said oh yeah, I think she's buried her. We buried her ashes over here. And both of the nun and the priest are nasty. They're transgenders. They're nasty. Like, whatever it is these individuals are doing, they should not be in any kind of church. Whatever it is not, they're not doing anything truly spiritual and holy, because it's how they're behaving, at least toward me. I'm very disturbed. We're talking about my ex-girlfriend that passed away. Very loving and kind, and I'm here having all these things happen to me and being raped by a transgender and all these things, and it's just like she just died and that was it. So I end up leaving. I get this brochure. She gives me this brochure, and about a week later I purchase this for a remember memorial to remember her. And I showed already on this website. She's on these websites. Like, this is one website. This is the address. It looks like this one's in Farmers Branch. This is where they're cremated. It's a funeral and cremation care. That's who I guess dealt with that. It says here, Ginger Johnson passed away at the age of 45 years old. October 6th. And it says right here, this is like a little postcard, there are some who bring a light so great to the world that even after they have gone, the light remains. Virginia Johnson, April 3rd, born April 30th, 1976, October 6th, 2021 was her last day. So I contacted as many people as I could recently as well, and I did before. Some of them repeated the same thing and told me, and they said that she died of cancer. And I said, what kind of cancer? And there was one person that confirmed with me, or one or two people confirmed. I think it was just one person that confirmed that she had ovary cancer. The other one, there was two or three of them that said that she had cancer. They just don't know what kind of cancer, but it was ovary cancer. So she passed away. I never saw any photos of her of chemotherapy. I never saw and I don't know how much of this stuff wasn't put on Facebook or anything. I didn't see the pictures I didn't see any photos of chemotherapy. I didn't see any photos of her progression of cancer. I didn't see her decline. I didn't see any of those things. And this is why I kept it very questionable whether any of this was really happening. Why would somebody be in their final stages of life and not post any pictures of what their life is like? I did something like that, so I understood that it might be possible, because when I went to the hospital, I did not post my life and cancer diagnosis with my bone marrow transplant. I did not post any of that over the internet, not one photo that I can ever recall any of that. I kept it all private for many years. For at least 4 years, I never said a single word. I kept it private. I lost my hair. I was crying. I was dying. I was driving myself to the hospital. I didn't tell any friends. I told just a couple of friends when I went through my bone marrow transplant, and that was it. I had one friend show up, one friend, and he was my best friend at the time. We grew up very close. We don't talk anymore, and he was family very well, and he was sort of my mentor a little bit when he came in and visited me. I didn't have any other friends that showed up, and I had asked him, and he was very supportive. But I never, there's a lot of people that don't want their public attention going on, but I didn't see any progress. I analyzed the words that she said on Facebook and on her Facebook account, and her Facebook account, the way that she says that she has cancer, she doesn't say it in a way that is almost necessarily serious. She says it in a way. She says it in a way that's almost kind of very passive. Like, look at this. Like, this is what it says. And it says, "Fuck cancer. My birthday this year, I'm asking for donations to..." Like, when somebody has cancer, you don't say things like, "Fuck cancer." And I don't know if somebody was typing this, or I don't know what was going on, but that's kind of exactly what's happening. But here's some photos of her. And here is a photo of her in the hospital. And so it says, "I hope you consider contributing as a way to celebrate with me. Every little bit will help me reach my goal. I've included information about the American Cancer Society below. The American Cancer Society is leading the fight for a world without cancer, where they're finding cures and doing so much more." So I don't know if this looks like a copy and paste, but this is what it says. It says, "For my birthday this year, I'm asking for donations to American Cancer Society. I've chosen this nonprofit because I have cancer again, and I hate it. This shit sucks. It hurts. We should have a cure already, and I hope you'll consider contributing as well to celebrate with me. Every little bit will help me reach my goal. I've included information about American Cancer Society below. The American Cancer Society is leading the fight for a world without cancer. We're finding cures and doing so much more. We're supporting patients for free lodging near hospitals, free rides to treatment, and our live 24/7 cancer helpline. We're providing information, tools, and services to help people cope with challenges and questions that come with cancer diagnosis. We're making breakthroughs in research and urging lawmakers to improve access to care. When it comes to cancer, we are the only organization attacking it from every angle. Facebook pays all the processing fees for you, so 100% of the donations goes directly to the nonprofit." So, that's kind of what the circumstances is. And here's Ginger. That's her right there. And that's her right there. This is like a picture of her, like probably about the same exact time that we were dating. Same exact time. Oh, and there was something else that happened that we were dating. When we were dating, she wanted me to go to. I forgot what it was. It was like a. It wasn't. Was it a Thanksgiving? It wasn't a Thanksgiving meal. It was like some sort of someone's gathering or something. Like they were gonna cook dinner or do something like that. And I couldn't show up. And I really, truly couldn't show up because I was exhausted. I think we had like, we were together, and then I went to work. I went to work, and I'm telling you, I was not only I was so tired. There was so much dark shit that was going on that I wasn't telling her. Like the person that I was living with knew every detail was going on my job site, and I'd come home, and then if there was a coworker that didn't like me or didn't say, she would report it to the landlord, and then they would come and retaliate against me. And I was like not telling, because at this point I don't want to tell her to make her any more stressful and disappointed, but she didn't know anything about that. And she asked me to go, and I couldn't because I was not only just dead tired, I was having a lot of shit going on, so I still wanted to stay things real steady and slow, and that was it. So she ended up, like I said, and so anyway, that was a house. That's actually in her house. So I thought it was important to talk about because I don't know the details and all the shit that's going on, but I want to say deeply to the, as emotional as this was at times for me, I promise to God when I say this, when we were together, I don't like sharing stuff like this, but this person is no longer alive, and I don't know if there are days where I question whether this is all fake or not, because there's been questionable things that have happened that has nothing to do with her, and very dark things that people are doing to me. And we were having sex, and we were together, and I very vividly remember we were having sex, and I was penetrating her, just like adults do, right? Penis to vagina. And I swear to you, it felt like somebody was shooting an electronic device. And I remember it shooting me somewhere in my upper to bottom lobe buttocks. And basically, I talk about that whatever electronic device that they were shooting at me, it just quickly shoots like this, and it just makes a muscle tissue twitch. And I remember almost wanting to turn around like a growling dog, like it's a very intimate situation, and I felt like somebody was videotaping us, or somebody was like, any guy would get furious. Who the fuck, it's like a lion having his cubs attacked, fighting off hyenas. And I remember there was twitches, and it wasn't all lower at somebody, and I remember thinking, somebody shooting me with something? And I felt it a couple of other times, and then I never felt it again. These twitches, ever. At work, driving the car, nowhere. And I very vividly felt like somebody was shooting an electronic device. It's very weird. There was no spinal cord injuries. There was no reason. I got tested, blood tested. There's no reason why this should be happening. So I think it's important for me to talk about, because I don't know much of the dark details that has yet to be, if it's ever going to be discussed. One day we went into the backyard, and we were looking up at the stars, and we were talking, and I think she was sitting on my lap, or we were laying down on a hammock or something like that. And I heard someone immediately, within 15 minutes, laying on the hammock, or I think it was a hammock or like a lawn chair or something, and we're in the backyard, and one of the people across the street, or like, I wouldn't say it was directly across the street. It was like two houses away from us, 3 houses away. I want to say, because it seemed it wasn't across the alley, just the house, 2 houses down. It felt like two. It felt like 2 streets over, and then I heard somebody yell out. Clearly, we both heard them, and they were. You could tell they were taunting us or trying to pester us, and I heard them say, "I love you," and like I could tell the guy's voice was a Mexican guy. I could tell it was a Mexican guy, and he yelled out something, and and so I end up, and I remember just thinking, I get pissed. I don't even thinking. I get up and say, "Hold on, who the hell's someone following us, harassing us?" So I get up and I look over the fence to see who the hell it is, and it's coming from that one of the houses like across the alley. And I don't think anything of it, and I get nervous, because the reason I get nervous is because now I feel like I have to be a guard dog, because whatever trouble that's harassing me and people that are coming at me for it, now they're going after her and bothering me. So I don't tell her about the tickets. I don't tell her about the harassment. I don't tell about the details. I'm ignoring that as much as I can and trying to have a normal life, and it's not happening. They're figuring out where I live, figuring out where I'm going whenever I go to Ginger's house, and it becomes very frustrating. So I end up, we go back inside the house, we talk or whatever, and that was it. So there's also one thing. Before she passed away, right after I came back from Alaska, I was like 34, 35. I wasn't on disability yet. I go to her house where she used to live. When I go to her house, knock on the door, there's a white guy, tall white guy, answers the door, kind of nerdy. He looks kind of like a nerd. And I don't know where he comes from where he was, but I asked them, I says, "Does Ginger Johnson live here?" Because I was looking for Ginger to talk to her. And he answered, he goes, "No, she sold the house to me a long time ago." And this is what she said. She said, "No, she sold the house." And it was weird, because when I first go to Ginger Johnson's house, where she used to live, right? This house right here, I go, and the glass doors open. I mean, the door's open, but there's just the glass door. And I look, once I go in and knock on the door, I notice that I'm looking all the way down the hall, and I notice that where, down past her kitchen, I notice that this guy is standing in front of this couch, and he's sort of leaning over it, and he kind of looks like he's sort of in a sexual position, like he's kind of getting oral sex for a moment or something. And I remember kind of thinking, like, oh shit, did I just catch this guy getting a blowjob or something? But he was not. I guess he was leaning over getting something, but it kind of looked like that. But he comes and walks to the door, and I said, "Does Ginger Johnson live here?" He goes, "No, she doesn't live here anymore." She goes, "She sold the house to me a long time. She sold the house to me a few years ago." "Oh, she doesn't live here. She sold the house to you?" He goes, "Yeah." "Oh, okay, well, thank you." And I left. So she had told me that was her house. She had been living there for quite a bit, and I'm aware of some of the things that she had going on. She had surgery. She had her stomach stapled, which is where you shrink down your stomach, and she explained to me what that really is. And when you eat food, you can only eat a very small portion amount of food before getting full. So you get full very fast, and your intake calories is very low. So that's kind of what happened. So there were some other things that were suspicious. I always felt that she was fine. She had told me she had lost a lot of weight, and I was like, great job. She, beautiful, giving her encouragement. But I want to say this, that it bothers me so much. Look, I can get on this website right now, and how could I be thinking this? Look, like this is her right here. And I go to these websites. I mean, look, you want to see people that have died? Look, I just click obituaries. All these people are dead. Look, dead, died. All these people. I go down the list. Look, all these are deceased people. All of them are. I can go to next. Look, here's some more. These are all deceased people. I mean, why would somebody make a fake website, do anything like that? I believe it. I believe she did pass away. I have no reason. Why would you put her on a website among all these people that seem to have passed away? So I just wanted to make this video, desperately for anyone that can understand about what's going on. I knew that when I talked to her, she seemed not to have gotten the best communication from her mom and dad. But her mother didn't seem like, she had told me, and she said that she told me that her mother died, this is one of the questionable things. She told me her mother died of lung cancer, and she used to go to the hospital all the time to help her mother, who was dying of cancer, she used to drive 18-wheelers or 18-wheel trucks. And she died when she was just a little girl, or like a teenager or something like that, a kid, and her mother died of lung cancer, and she was a truck driver. So that's what happened. So she was left alone without a mother very young, and she had a father, and she didn't really want to speak well of him, or she didn't talk well of him. There was just very little spoken about what her life, mother and father were like. But she didn't have any brothers and sisters that I recall her saying. She might have, but I don't recall her saying she had any brothers or sisters. And yeah, that was it. So I thought it was important for me to talk about and make a full-length video that my ex-girlfriend passed away, and people were shooting these electronic devices, and I know that if she's now deceased and placed among all these other people that are deceased, I'm no different. They will treat me as worthless as this could possibly fucking get. Okay? Nobody's changing or doing anything about the electronic devices, arresting these murder attempts, letting me take care of my health, work out, doing all these things and have daily functions. I'm not even allowed to wake up naturally without them forcing me to wake up every single morning shitting when they want me to shit. As soon as they want me to wake up at a certain time, they make me shit and get up off the fucking bed every single fucking morning like a fucking animal, like I'm in a prison. And I can't call the police. I mean, this is all these crazy things that is going on. My mom wishing me death at times and all kinds of really dark shit that's been going on. But I thought I'd make a video on this because I don't know the truth. It's now been 5 years. I've never seen any indication to anything other than that this is just a nightmare. This is just a lot of bad shit that's going on. So I know believe that if she is deceased, and this is what I'm reading, that my life will be treated just as worthless as if they didn't care of any of all the people that are just dying. Okay, I will just die, and I don't give a damn. This is about gay community and transgender Patricia Gardina, and feel sorry for the rapists and feel sorry for the transgender movement. I don't give a fuck. This is as nasty as this is going to be. This is why I'm running for my life, traveling all over the place when I never would have traveled or wanted to. Nobody understands that I didn't want to be traveling. I had no choice. I either get up and move, or I die right there. And there's no one that's giving me opportunity. And I'm not a traveling person. I never traveled at all until I ended up homeless. Until I was living on the streets, I had no choice, at least to try to fetch out any kind of life anywhere else, especially after murder attempt. But Um, I thought I'd make a video desperately to reach out. She's a very loving and kind person. I miss her. I believe and I hope the light of God has reached to her and her family and about all this ordeal. And, I was in my prime when I was with her. And I still remember great details in the relationship I was with her when we were on the bed talking, we were, watching Lord of the Rings, what her personality was like, even though the relationship didn't last long, but nobody understands the intensity of what these people were doing to me was so profoundly disrespecting and threatening, and this is how they were kind of controlling me sexually about what was going on, because at this point police officers would just give me a ticket. It was very violating, as a guy, because these were gays and transgenders telling me who to have sex with, and they really were not interested. Like, even if I was wanting to get a booty call or have sex for a day or two, what is it for you to tell me that I can't do that if it's all consensual on both sides? We're both adults. And you're a transgender. What the heck do you know about sex with, a woman having sex with a man? You don't know anything about that. You're a transgender. That's why you're as nasty as you were to me ever since the day that this whole nightmare started. But, I pray to God, I pray to Jesus, and I talked to her, and she wasn't very religious. It's one of the things I had asked her. I said, do you go to church? Do you believe in Jesus? And we had all these discussions, but I really do hope the best for her family, God's protection, comfort. But to me, it's very terrifying, because I feel like I'm next. I feel like there's not going to be too much more time, and I really don't. It's just very disturbing, because like even when I'm looking at her website, it says he passed away. There's no one that makes any comments. There's literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 photos of her. This doesn't make sense. Is someone playing a joke? Is these the web developer designers that are doing this to, I read through her whole situation that she had. I mean, even on here that there's Steph shared a few pictures. There was only one person, Billy, which is like her father, posted 3 pictures. Her father posted 3 pictures of her, and there was one friend that posted some pictures. One. Passed away at the age of 45 years old. It's really wild, because I remember seeing her at a rave many years ago, and this is one of the weirdest things. We're at the Powerpuff Girls many years ago, and this is a true story. I was 15 years old. I was 16 years old, and 9/11. I think it just happened within a year. I don't know. I was like late 16, I think it was, maybe even 17, early 17, or I was like 15. Could have been right before. And I was walking. I remember seeing Ginger, and when I saw Ginger, and I remember looking at her, for some reason, I don't know why, I remember thinking, and out of all, there was a lot of girls there, but for some reason, I don't know what, I remember thinking, I'm going to have sex with that girl one day. Like, it was immediately, I remember there was this crowd of people, and she immediately looked at me, and it was a recognition of, there's just something that guys understand when you know sex is in the air. There's not a doubt. Like, guys, straight guys know what I'm talking about, okay? you know when sort of that, you know, that vibe of, you know, sex, that you know that this person would more than be willing to, without a doubt. And I remember I didn't know who she was, and I remember I just looked at her. I was like, "Oh, she's pretty. I liked her. I liked her face. I liked her eyes." And she was having a great time. I just saw her for a moment there, and I remember she froze and just looked at me, and she was staring at me. And she could tell I was much younger than her, but I could tell that she looked at me. She looked at me with attraction. I remember feeling the vibe and looking at her like she looked at me with attraction. She was very attracted to me. So, anyway, we ended up, I never saw her again. This was like the Powerpuff Girls rave. This is at a massive rave. This is like I took ecstasy, and I think Michael Rossiter was there. Or later he was out. Maybe he didn't show up. Chris Martinez, Robert Zarate, Daniel. I went there to this rave with Daniel Box and Bruce. Bruce was there. I think I remember. Yeah, Joni, Susie. Susie was there, and I remember it was an epic night because I remember. I remember they played this one track, you know. And some of the tracks that I knew, and it was just, they were playing some really mind-blowing dance house music. So anyway, that's what happened, and I thought I'd make a video on that, so I have to make some other videos, because this has already been an hour that I've been speaking about my ex-girlfriend, Ginger.